Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael. Last week I was talking about this book called The Midnight Library, which was absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy book, so that surprised me. It's not my go-to style, but I'm really glad that my book club at the Military Family Resource Center at Wainwright suggested that we read this, because I wouldn't have picked it up otherwise, and it was a really great experience. Has really given me a lot to think about. That might be a topic for another day. Doing those things you didn't expect you would like, doing something out of the usual. Now, the reason I want to talk about it today is because there's this line just toward the end of the book. The young woman involved, Nora Seed, has to write, and she's trying to get her life back. She's trying to find the life that she had before she tried to commit suicide. And in this library, there's one book that's unwritten that she gets to write. Right in it, she gets to start writing her own story, and she writes several things and can't get it, and things are getting crazy because the library is burning around her, and eventually she finally realizes what she needs to write is, I am alive. She writes, I am alive, capital letters, and that's a pretty amazing statement. And I think the reason why I love that statement so much and why it spoke to me is because she's realizing this in the middle of her life. She's lost her job. She was a piano teacher with only one student, and she lost her student. Her cat died. She has a bad relationship with her brother. Her parents are both dead. Things are just really, really bad for her. She doesn't like her neighbor. She has nothing hopeful to live for. And yet she goes through this experience of living all of the alternate, not all, but many of the alternate parallel universal lives she could have, and realizes that none of them spoke to her soul. None of them were the ones that she really, really wanted to be in. And then she realized that she needed to make the decision to be alive in the life she had. Even though all those awful things had happened, if she started living and believing that she was alive in that time, then she would be able to celebrate and change things and make a different future than what she perceived she could have. And I wonder, for all of us, is that not something that we should think about ourselves? That phrase, I am alive. Yeah, we've lived through 2 years of the pandemic, and we've lived through the last month of craziness in Ottawa and all those things that entails, and how hard that is to sort of reconcile in our heads about what is our country becoming and who are we as Canadians, and all those big, huge, big intellectual thought things. But when it comes right down to it, when we take off our socks to go to bed at night, and we're sitting looking around maybe at our spouse or our cat, our dog, or just at the wall as we prepare to go to sleep and close our eyes, are we able to recognize the incredible gift that simply being alive is? Because in the act of being alive, in every moment, we have decisions to make. We can decide what to have for breakfast. We can decide whether to call our sister. We can decide, what our attitude is going to be at work. We can decide whether we're going to smile at a stranger, whether we're going to be happy or sad. It often feels like, and I hear people talk about, things make us do things. She made me mad. That person who cut in front of me in the line at Tim Hortons made me angry. That book made me happy. We put our reactions to things on other people and on other things. We allow others to seemingly have control over us. And the only one who should have control over us is God. Does God ever make us angry? We may think so. But if we actually sit down and think, okay, what was it that happened that we perceived that God made us angry? Was it because, we lost a job? Because someone in our family died? God didn't do those things. God is present with us. God doesn't make us angry. We become angry. We become sad. We become happy. We choose our reaction. I've been trying for the last couple of years to really change my attitudes about things. As I've gotten older, I recognize there's some things, like for instance, about worry. I've talked about this before. Worry does nothing. It adds gray hairs. It looks like I've worried a lot. Worrying does no good. It wastes time. And so when we find ourselves worrying, we need to make a decision. We need to make the decision that we are not going to worry. Is there something in that worry that we need to be concerned about? Is there something in that worry that we can do something about? Then that's what we should focus on. If it's something we're concerned about, then we need to pray. If there's some action we can take, then we need to make that action, even if it scares us. Often I find for myself that my worrying is my active procrastination. I worry about something. I worry about a phone call I have to make, or I worry about a sermon I have to write, because I'm not actually willing in this moment to go and do it. Because once I start doing it, then I don't have to worry about it anymore. So we make these decisions. If someone else lets the door slam in our face or cuts in front of us in line at Tim Hortons, whether or not they did it intentionally is a whole different thing. How we respond to that is up to us. I can get mad. I can, mutter under my breath or stomp my feet or honk my horn and, be angry that that person did that. It's not going to change the fact that they did it. And the truth is, they may not even realize they did do it. It may not have been intentional. And even if it was intentional, then that person's a jackass, and we can't change that either. So what is the point of being angry? Sometimes righteous indignation and anger are important. They move us, they get us going. But we always have to recognize where it's coming from. Recognizing that something else or someone else did not make me angry, but I choose to respond out of anger. And then that leaves it on me to make a decision about what I'm going to do about that. I am not put upon. I have a decision to make. And I think that as we go about our lives, especially as we go about sort of recovering from the pandemic and figuring out what life is going to look like now, we will have tons of decisions to make. We can decide to be grumpy, and if this hadn't happened, or we can decide to say, what, it did happen. Can't change that, but I can change how I deal with it from now on. The same way Nora Seed, the character in the book, made the decision to go back to her old life, the one that was so crappy that she tried to take her own life, to go back to that moment before she dies, that she can change things, that she can wake up vomiting up all of the pills that she just swallowed and realize that she's not dead. All the things in her life that made her want to end her life are still there. But there's also a future ahead of her that she can choose to make better than what was before. And she can choose to recognize that she was alive. And that's something that we need to wake up every day and recognize. I am alive. Capital letters, massive font. I am alive. And because I am alive, I have the ability to choose good, to choose God, to choose smiling and laughter and love. I have the ability to choose to help someone else to feel alive, to recognize that they are alive. So whatever you're going through today, whatever it is that you're thinking about or that you're dealing with, start with that notion of understanding that you are alive. And if you are alive, then God can still do good work in you and through you. So have a good day. Open your eyes, look out the window, and just yell at the top of your lungs, I am alive, and celebrate this incredible gift that tells you that God loves you so much that God woke you up this morning and said, you're alive. What are you going to do with the gift of your life today? I hope the gift of your life today is incredible. Have a good one, and I'll see you again soon for Church at Home with Rachael.